Hi, it's me, Chase Koch, president of the Carrie Kappa League. And today, I'm here for a filmmaker who didn't wait for Hollywood to open the door for him, but instead made a house entirely of his own. This award-winning independent director, entrepreneur, and creator of the Virginia Black Film Festival is a person whose impact stretches across multitudes of communities across the world, as he's also owner of the Black Arts Foundation. And that man I'm talking to today is Brian G. Thompson. Thank you for joining me today, Brian. I'm very, very excited to have our conversation. How are you feeling today?
Absolutely. The pleasure is mine. You know what? I'm grateful that you selected me. Looking forward to sharing my thoughts with you.
Well, I'm really excited to hear that because I love film and storytelling and entertainment. So I'm very excited for our conversation. And before we begin into your story, let's start off with a fun question. Who is your favorite Black actor, and what's your favorite movie that they've starred in?
Um, so I'm gonna go with Denzel for this one, and I know you probably get that a lot, but the thing that makes Denzel special is his ability to recreate himself for different roles. The movie. There's a lot of them actually. Certainly, Mississippi Masala was probably my favorite.
Well, that's a really good actor choice. I also really like Denzel Washington as an actor. He's really great in his performances. One of my favorite movies I've seen him in is really the whole Equalizer franchise, but I really like part three, especially. So
Yeah,
yeah, thanks.
absolutely. Oh yeah, he's great.
So for a Kappa Leaguer who may not know who Brian Thompson is, can you share a little bit about yourself and the stories you like to tell?
Yeah, sure. So I am a writer, director, filmmaker. I have produced 13 feature-length films that are streaming on major platforms like Peacock and Tubi and Amazon. I'm also a MBA student. I have two law degrees and an undergraduate in international business. And all of these things have contributed, these experiences have contributed to helping me be a better writer and a better film producer. So I make films that address issues and also films that entertain. So I try to make sure that all of my films are edutainment, but we don't really focus on the educational aspect when we talk about marketing, right? So I make action movies, comedies, and dramas, but in the midst of all of that, these films are designed to make sure that people learn something from my films. My first feature film, for example, is called El Sueño, and it's about two Mexican immigrants whose parents are murdered by anti-immigrant extremists, and it kind of is a call to action for some immigration reform. Also made a film called Thanksgiving with the Carters, which is my next film after that, which it talks about prison reform because it's all about a family who have this special celebration, a traditional celebration every Thanksgiving because the patriarch of the family was wrongfully convicted and came back on Thanksgiving. At the core, those two movies are one is a drama and one is a dramedy, right? The Thanksgiving was a comedy. With the Carters has some comedy in it, a lot of comedy in it. But at the end of the day, it's really designed to highlight themes that matter to me. My latest film called Blowback with Clifton Powell. That's a film that, again, it was designed to highlight the importance of family and the fact that families can come back together, right? You know, we have sometimes families have painful histories that can separate them, and you can find ways to find your way back to those families. And sometimes there's at any point in life people can learn lessons that will change the course of their life. And so at the core, that's what the movie is about. But of course, it's tremendous amount of action. We filmed it in Virginia and in Madrid, Spain. And, at the core, it is an action movie.
Well, I really like that. I love when a movie or really any story has a theme on top of it that the audience can take away. And really, I enjoy that when you make films, you put a positive aspect that you truly believe and incorporate that into your storytelling. And I really love that. And so,
Thank you.
what piece of media really sparked your interest into storytelling, in this creativity and passion that you have today?
Um, my answer to that question really is the lack of media, right? So there was no there was no piece of media that really pulled me into it. It was actually the lack of positive representation that made me say, you know what, why am I not seeing, I grew up on Batman and all these characters, and the characters that were really highlighted, right? And I like comic books, and the characters that you got to see a lot of were always the white characters. And so you never, I could see myself in those white characters because I felt that I had everything that they had. But I came to a realization that, we need to have our own representations, right? Because what about the kids who can't see themselves in those characters? And so they subliminally believe that those characters are superior to them because they don't look like them, right? So it's always been important to me, especially when anytime I make movies that have to do with heroes, that we do see those black heroes, that we do understand that that black people can be both powerful and also have a sense of integrity.
Well, that's a really good cause, and I definitely agree with you on that. I love action movies, but I definitely feel like there's a lack of representation. But do you feel like anything has changed since you started? 'Cause I know you started around the early 2010s, but since then they've had Black Panther and a couple of other movies that star black actors. Do you feel like this has gotten any better since the beginning of your journey, or do you still have? I definitely know we have a long way to go, but has it gotten better since then?
There have been ups and downs. There have been moments that made me very hopeful. For example, as you mentioned, Black Panther made me very hopeful that we would see a lot more. But Black Panther didn't really start a wave, right? And so we go all the way back to Wesley when he did Blade. That made me very hopeful. But again, it didn't start a wave. It was just like, okay, you guys got that. Now, go sit off on the side while we make 100 more superhero movies and movies with white lead characters, right? And so and another one that made me very hopeful was Luke Cage. So I read the comic books. I was really into Luke Cage. So I was really excited to see that Luke Cage, had a series on Netflix. And then all of a sudden, Luke Cage vanishes. I couldn't tell you where to find Luke Cage right now, and I would love to watch it. So, those types of things let me know that we still have a profoundly long way to go, and that we need 100 more people like me promoting the narrative of Black heroism.
Well, that's really interesting, and I definitely agree. So you say you want a lot more people like you, and I definitely agree. So can you share exactly how you began your journey and the types of steps that turned you into a film director, and a piece of advice you can give to a Capital Leaguer or a youth who may want to start on that same journey today?
Absolutely. So my journey has been very winding, right? So it started with acting, and then it moved into singing, and then I've throughout my life, I have found that art has been my default coping mechanism for the challenges that I've had in my life, right? And so I think that it's very important. Like my piece of advice would be to cultivate artistic resilience and harness all of your tragedies and your disappointments um, by cultivating that, right? So the way you cultivate artistic resilience is you live in a space where you're always creating, even when the world is not supporting your creation, even when people are telling you that you're not great, or that you don't have the potential, or that when it's not accepted for whatever reason, you continue to create, you continue to cultivate. And what happens is practice makes perfect, right? And so you stay in that space, but you're staying in the space not necessarily because you have a defined goal. You stay in the space because it feels good to create, because you create things that make you feel good. And by doing that, it also improves your internal self-esteem. It improves the way that you view the world, because you always know when the world says no to you, you can say yes to you by turning inside and creating. And so to me, that would be the biggest lesson that I've learned along the way. I got started I didn't get started like in one place. I can tell you, I got started with film for the same reason. Like, I was deployed in Iraq. I'm a military veteran, and I got an idea that, okay, I've had a lot of ups and downs and challenges in my life, and if I don't want to die with any regrets, if I make it back alive, then I'm going to make sure I dedicate myself to the arts even more, because it felt as though nothing that I had done up until that point in my life was something that people beyond the people that knew me immediately would be able to relate to and learn from. So that was when I got my first idea for my first feature, and I had no idea how I was going to accomplish it. And so I just started. And when you just start, along the way, you're going to bump your head a lot. And I bumped my head a lot. I couldn't get the money. I couldn't get, all these different components that I needed. But then it just kind of happened for me so for example, I wanted to do this concept trailer, and I know I'm rambling, but I want to do this concept trailer so that I can make this big budget film. And I was like, once I get the money, I'll get, a Hollywood actor. Well, it just happened that we're going to do this concept trailer with someone else, and the one of the people that I really wanted to work with, his name was Tony Todd. He became famous because of the Candyman movies. He just happened to know someone that I knew, and they got wind of the fact that I was doing this concept trailer in Miami. In Virginia. And he said to the person who said to that person who said to me, if they want to use me in the movie, why are they making the trailer without me? And so I said to the person, and eventually they connected us, because I don't have Tony Todd star money. And Tony Todd saw me as a person, as, a young black man who's trying to do something positive. And he worked with me. And that's how I did my first concept trailer for an action movie. And after that, things just got a little bit easier because people understood I was serious. You know what I mean? And Tony Todd actually ended up passing away before we made the feature film, but he sparked my career. And, since then I've worked with, very well recognized actors, Jamal Willard, who played Biggie, and most recently Clifton Powell. Excuse me. And so I think that the best advice I can give beyond cultivating artistic resilience is you just have to get in there and do it, and continue to do it. And don't let your foot off the gas because someone doesn't give you the immediate feedback that you're expecting.
That's a very good piece of advice. I definitely think it's something that everybody watching should follow. And let me ask, because this segues right into the next bit that I want to talk about. So when someone starts that process of getting into a creative space, what exactly or how should someone advertise or promote their products? As they might be able to work on something, but if no one gives them a chance, what would you say is the best way to get their idea and work out there?
Yes, so social media is absolutely awesome way to do it, right? Social media will get you to the next level, and nowadays, I think you have to combine social media with other forms of conventional advertising. But at the end of the day, that's the beauty of the time that we're living in right now. But you have to be dedicated to it, and a lot of artists I find are hesitant, let's say, to just go direct to camera and say, look, this is what I'm doing, this is why it's important. And that is at the core, that's what you have to do, and you have to be willing to take that step and then be willing to invest in it. $20, it seems like not a lot of money, and $20 can really take you a long way in terms of creating a brand. And you just have to be consistent, just like everything else.
Hmm. So another facet of your entire journey as an artist is the fact that you created the Black Virginia Film Festival. Can you talk a little bit about what you guys do at that event and how it helps out artists?
Yeah, so the Virginia Black Film Festival, it is an opportunity for emerging Black filmmakers to really get seen and exposed to really larger audiences, right? So every year we have thousands of people who come through. Right now we're probably between 1,500 and 2,000, and we also have celebrity guests that come through. We've had Tim Reed, Clifton Powell, BK Fulton. We have had a lot of really influential people whose whole purpose is to elevate these emerging creators. So that's very helpful. But then one of our initiatives is also to get young people more involved in what we're doing. So we're going to be reaching out to high school age students to make sure that they get tickets to this. And we're going to be doing ticket giveaways to make sure that the people in the place can become the next generation of Black storytellers.
That's a really great, what you guys are doing is really great. And it's amazing how you can influence that entire area of Black creators and really give them an opportunity to showcase their creative work for a larger audience. And so would you recommend that any creator just go out and find the film festival that works for them, as well as advertising on social media?
Absolutely. I think that, so first you have to create, right? And then you have to be objective about your work, because here's the thing, not every film festival is going to accept you, and film festivals cost money. So there's a level to it, and you have to understand the level that your content is at. So if you've made content and you look at it and you say, maybe this isn't the level that I need to compete in the film festival, but let me go to the film festival so I can learn how to get on that level, right? And then I can also connect with mentors that can help me to get on that level, and mentors who can look at my content and say, if you do this and this and this, you'll be on that level and you should submit. That way you're not, because when you submit to a film festival and then you don't get in, there's a little pain there, right? And people don't always process that pain in a positive way. So what we don't want to do is discourage people because they're getting this negative feedback. On the other hand, we want to make sure that people elevate to the level they need to be at in order to be seen by these wider audiences. So everything is a process. And I think that understanding that everything is a process is going to make creators better. And it's also going to propel people to that next level faster because they won't be in this space of not knowing why they're getting rejected, but yet getting rejected.
Absolutely. So I understand. It really just depends on the person, what their goal is to really have a plan for how do I want to do this? How should I get my work out there?
Absolutely.
And so, yeah, that's really great. What's so now moving on to a little bit different subject. What's one hard skill that you feel like any creative or filmmaker should know when getting into the industry that you don't feel is talked about enough?
Um, the timeline. I think the timeline is very important to understand that this is not a quick timeline. There is no get successful quick scheme for filmmaking or for the arts in general, because it's dependent on so many factors. So the skill, the number one skill, I think, is mental resilience. It is the ability to stay in your mode, stay in your zone, when crowds are not screaming. You know what I mean? So it's crazy because I mentioned to you that I'm also a singer, right? And so as a singer, I performed for crowds with hundreds of people that were cheering and doing everything I wanted them to do. And then I also performed for crowds in a restaurant that were basically ignoring me. And so the resilience comes in with you're giving the same exact amount of energy, whether you have 1,000 people cheering for you or you have 2 to 3 people who wish you would shut up so they could finish their meal.
Oh, absolutely. I definitely think so. The overarching message that you want to give is to keep that mental resilience. And it's definitely something I agree with. And really, it could be applied to anything too, not even just being creative, because if you want to start something or you have any aspiration, one of the most important things is to know where you want to go and then to keep going at it. So I think that's really great. And you're living proof that that mentality works. And so,
Thank
one of the
you.
last things I want to ask you is what sort of legacy do you want to have in the future? When people hear your name, what do you want them to think about Brian G. Thompson as a creator and innovator?
I want them, when they hear my name, to have a voice in their head that says it's possible. I want to be the example that people use that you can come from any place and get to any place that you want. I think that that's very important because at the end of the day, a lot of times people don't achieve their dreams because they don't truly believe that their dream is possible because they can't really see it, right? It's a question of perspective. Like if you're halfway up the mountain and I'm at the top of the mountain, the view that we're seeing is completely different. I may be seeing what's on the other side of the mountain, but you can't see what's on the other side, right? And so from that perspective, what I want my legacy to be is I want them to look at me and through my eyes see that the other side of the mountain has what they need so that they'll go for it.
Well, thank you. That was a really amazing legacy, and I definitely feel like people will be thinking that about you in the future and all the people that you help with your Black Arts Foundation and creating the Black Virginia Film Festival. It's really doing a lot for all sorts of creators out there, and I really think it's an awesome thing that you're doing. So thank you for joining me in this conversation today. It was really great, and I learned a lot.
Thank you. I really appreciate you as well.
I appreciate it too. And as a person who loves entertainment, this was a really great inside view of what it's like to create it in the mentality that you have to go into with this industry. And what you have to keep remembering is that you have to keep trying and keep that mental resilience, even if people will be negative. But you can see every day, especially with the rise of the internet. So it's a really great thing that you're doing this. And I just want to say thank you.